Most horses today, most colts, are started at 2 years old.
Okay.
Okay. Some start as early as 18 months. A horse does not reach maturity until they're 6.
Okay.
At least your average quarter horse, your average wrangler.
Okay.
A 2-year-old colt may be big. You look at them, they're like, man, that's a big, good-looking horse right there. All right. But his knees are like, you know how an infant is born and they have soft spot on top of their head?
Yeah.
Because the skull has, their knees are not growing together, the bones in their knees.
Interesting.
Okay. And so you can take them and put them on a racetrack. All right. The Kentucky Derby is strictly 2-year-olds. You can't run unless you're 2 years old. And you can work them too hard, as big and strong as they look, and wreck their knees. And by the time they're 10, they're done, or 8. You know, you break them down early. I have horses. I have a horse right now. I bought her at, she was 8 months old. Well, she'll be 5 this year. She's still not big enough for me to ride. And I'm like, that's her. Let her grow. And it's mentally too. We get horses in that are sharp and they're there and they're on it. And you start them nice and easy at 2 years old. You get another horse and they're like, you know,
right.
And it's like, you got to wait till they're 4 or 5. They're just not ready.
Right.
You know, but you don't push them. If you push them and you get a modicum of success, you pay for that in the long run.
You know what this feels like? This feels like youth sports and parents pushing their kids for their own glory or pushing them too soon.
I believe that you only have so much. Every person you take whatever it is. Okay, steps, a step. You've only got so many steps in your life. Okay, let's say 1 million steps. It's just, I'm just pulling it on my hair. Okay, now you've only got 1 million.
Yeah.
Now, if you burn up all that 1 million steps in the first 15 years of your life, what are you going to do when you're 70? How broke down are you going to be? Because you've only got so many. Okay, and it goes with the heart and it goes with the mind. You only have so much. And if you take a young horse and you start training them, and you train them too much, you burn the brain out. And I don't mean physically, but it's like taking a 7-year-old boy and sitting him down in front of a math book and making him sit there for 4 hours a day. What are you going to wind up with a boy that hates math? Now, he might have been naturally good at math. He might have had a talent for math. He might would have loved math and become a great mathematician. But you pushed too much math on him when he was 7, and he said, I hate this. I hate it. Horses are the same way. You push them too hard at 2 years old, and they're like, I hate being ridden. I hate being saddled. I hate working. They just get an attitude, and they hate it. You take a young man that's 26 years old, and you're like, you've got to invest in this. You've got to read all these books, and you've got to do this. You have to become that. If you don't have a six-pack, I'm going to fire you. You know, I hate that nonsense. You'll burn them up inside. They'll lose their joy of life. Okay? They spend so much time in their formative years and in their youth being just mentally and emotionally driven and burnt out. I tell you what, there's a short story by Jack London called The Apostate.
Yep.
Read that story. Look it up. It's the perfect example of this whole situation. Okay? Let them grow. A 5-year-old boy's got no business being in school.
Oh, I agree.
He's got no business. He needs to be out climbing a tree. Now, maybe he'll break his arm, but he'll be happy because he'll have a cast and he'll have the scars of war.
That's right.
He needs to be muddy. He needs to be dirty. He needs to be out feeding the horses. All right? He needs to be growing and developing. He doesn't need to be sitting down in a book and trying to figure out if a train leaves Chicago at 8 a.m., traveling 35 miles. He don't need that nonsense.
He doesn't.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to ruin him.
That's right.
Well, the same thing applies to a 20-year-old, but just in different areas.
Yes.
They don't need it. Okay?
Yeah.
They don't need it. What do they need? They need to learn how to build relationships. They need to be around a campfire with a bunch of buddies and figuring out the pain of acting stupid.
Yep.
They need to figure it out.
That's right.
All right? They need to be down in the creek bank down there, getting a bloody nose in a good fist fight because somebody has not yet learned how to shut their mouth. Okay, they need to learn life.
Yes.
You don't learn life sitting in a bunch of stinking seminars. No offense.
Yeah,
okay?
no, none taken.
No offense. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
Now, all young men are not the same. Some young men, they hit 18, 19, they're there.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you take an 18-year-old who, we put him in school when he was 4.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
He went all the way through grade school.
Yeah.
Then he went through middle school. Then he went through high school.
Yeah.
Then he went to college. Then he went to pre-med. And then he went to med school.
Right.
What do you learn?
Well, I'll tell you what we teach them. We teach them not to ask questions. We teach them how to answer questions. We beat the curiosity out of them. That's what they're learning.
And so
we tell them to learn.
And so they just parrot. They don't think for themselves. And they don't, their empathy is stunted. You come off a horse and hit the ground, I'm gonna look down and I'm gonna say, did that hurt? Okay, because I've been there.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
I've been there so many times.
Right.
Okay, I can empathize.
Yep.
And I can say, get up, brush yourself off and get back on.
Right.
Oh, you broke a couple of ribs?
Right.
Well, here's some aspirin. I've been there, done that.
But you're also going to probably tell me what I did.
Oh, absolutely.
And boy, am I going to learn a lot better
Okay.
because of that.
But if you spent all of your life sitting in one classroom after another, sitting in front of a computer,
That's right.
learning how to make more money, you don't learn how to preserve relationships.
Yeah.
You don't learn how to empathize with people, not to the level that you should.
Yeah.
We got to let kids be kids. And I don't, this is me, a 26-year-old is still a kid.
Yeah.
And we got to let them be a kid. We got to let them mess up.
Yeah.
You know, we got to let them have fun. Look, I'll be 58 next month.
I love that just surprised you.
There are things I'll never do again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I resonate with that.
Okay? Why do I want to take that away from a 25-year-old?
Yes.
Why do I want him to get where I'm at? And it's like, well, you got a lot of money, but you never did this. You never experienced this.
Yeah.
You never found this. You never learned this.
Yes.
I wouldn't trade places with you for nothing.
Yeah.
We need to let, and it's not just guys, girls. We need to let them, and not be stupid, not be immoral. I'm not talking spring break garbage.
Sure.
Okay. But hey, let the kid be the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a reason why we call them young men.
That's right.
And there's a reason why we say old men.
That's right.
That's a key adjective.
One of the saddest things in the world is an old man that's 24 years old.
Ooh.
That's sad.
Oh. Break that down. Describe that old man who's 24.
He's been weighted with responsibilities and fears and work and drudgery, and all the joy of life was taken away from him. All of the freedom of life was taken away from him. And I'm 58. I'm not old, but I'm not young. And I carry burdens easily because I've grown into them.
Yes.
I carry my age easily because I've grown into it.
Yeah.
But a 24-year-old should not be carrying an old man's burden.
So here's what I took away. As a parent, I was able to look back in the rewind button, and I hope this helps some of you that are still in the phase of raising younger kids to be successful adults. I think it's just been too much control. And as a result of that control, too much pressure, not enough adventure. It's so hard for us parents to let go enough to let them go out and adventure like Dwayne was talking about and deal with everything that comes with that adventure. Excitement plus pain, failure and success. So going forward, I think the mantra ought to be, hey, parents, don't push them, just support them. So what do you think? Let me know.